I heard once that how we treat ourselves in private is how we will treat others in public. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast today. I'm so glad you're here. We're diving into unconditional love, one of my favorite topics, also one of the most challenging topics that comes up for us with parenting. Right now, every morning at precisely 8:30 in the morning, this jackhammer starts. It's been going and going and going. When I was writing this outline, it had been going for 3.5 hours. And I'm typing up, I'm talking about unconditional love, and then it hits me, oh my gosh, this is so perfect. Because what could be deemed as an annoying, frustrating situation has given an opportunity to all my family members to respond. So I have a daughter who's really bothered by it. I have a couple of daughters who seem fairly neutral about it, somewhat annoyed, but not overly bothered. And then my husband feels compassion every time he hears the jackhammer because we had a family friend who had nerve damage as a result of working a jackhammer for a long period of time. So he feels compassion. One of my daughters feels annoyance. A couple of others feel indifferent or neutral. And looking at all of the responses to the exact same situation drives us home to a theme that we talk about all of the time with Connect Method Parenting, which is that our perception, our thoughts, our beliefs about something truly impact how we show up. And so as we're thinking about unconditional love today, it's the same thing. We have different situations in our life and we have different filters, different thoughts, different beliefs, but can we show up with unconditional love if we want to? Can we feel compassion? Can we drop the resistance, even to the most annoying situation, person, behavior, all of that? What if we could just tell people that we love them? Even the most annoying, challenging people. What would our lives be like? So why are we talking about increasing our capacity to generate unconditional love today? Our unconditional love capacity or threshold or index or quotient. Why do we care? Well, first of all, it feels amazing. We make better choices when we're feeling unconditional love. You can help your kids more, not less. You show up as that rock star parent you always wanted to be and show up like. You increase the changes that you want your kids to have. You increase their ability to listen to you or want to listen to you. Chances of them wanting to do that when you're showing up with unconditional love is so much higher than when you're judging and frustrated. So of course we need to talk about how to increase our capacity to have unconditional love in our body when our kids are acting their worst. Not just that deep down, I do unconditionally love them regardless. Nope. I mean, that's great. And I know we have that. But what I'm talking about is the unconditional love and acceptance that is so palpable. It's literally oozing out of our bodies. Our kids can't help but feel it. And that we can hold that kind of unconditional love even when our kids are struggling or not anywhere close to on their best behavior. So buckle up because I'm kind of fired up today about this topic and I feel very, very passionate about it. So we're going to dive in and have some fun today. So years ago, a friend of mine, Michelle and I, and many other friends, but Michelle and I were sitting in a class learning some pretty profound stuff. And this idea of unconditional love came up. And I still remember she raised her hand and she asked, so when you are talking about unconditional love, what you're saying is love without conditions, right? And then Michelle paused, and the gal teaching was up on the stage, paused and took a second and said, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we can love without any conditions, regardless of the situation. I remember looking over at Michelle and thinking, thank you so much for getting clarity on that. And then looking back at the teacher and thinking, all right, so how the heck do we actually do that? Now, I know some of you are thinking the same thing. You saw the title of this episode and thought, great idea, but I don't know. Can we actually do that? Stay tuned because I'm breaking it all down for you in this episode. I've talked about unconditional love before on the podcast, but today I'm breaking it down a bit differently. So we're going to start with this concept that you have the potential to feel any way you want at any time. Notice I said potential because I do believe it's within our potential, but not always within our current capacity. But I do believe that the potential to develop the capacity to feel anything we want at any time is available to us as humans. And again, disclaimer in case you missed it the first time, even though we have the capacity to feel unconditional love at all times, we may not choose to feel that unconditional love at all times, or we may not be able to feel that love at all times because we either lack the capacity to do it in that moment, or we might intentionally choose to feel sad, angry, frustrated because we want to feel sad, angry, or frustrated. And that's totally fine. Also our choice. My belief is that you have the inherent ability to develop the capacity for unconditional love anytime you want to feel that, if you want to feel that. Got it? Questions? Either way, keep listening. If this is your first time hearing me talk about the capacity for unconditional love, then you may have to listen to this episode a few times before you get this. If you're working with me in League, you've heard me talk about this nonstop. So this is going to be a great review. It's going to take it deeper. You're going to hear things differently because repetition is what we need more than information. Now, I don't believe there is any such thing as a good or bad emotion. They're simply emotions. They all serve a purpose. The more conscious or aware or familiar we are with our emotions, the more capacity we have to develop or to choose the emotions we want in any given moment. So to recap, it's possible for us to choose how we want to feel in any given moment, but whether you can intentionally choose how you feel or not is determined by the capacity that you've developed. So if you remember in episode 83, Drama at the Train Station, that was the 1-year episode I dropped on October 3rd when we celebrated the birthday, I walked you through me losing my mind at the train station. And I wasn't able to intentionally choose how I wanted to feel in that moment because my capacity to choose my emotions in that moment was limited. And I named off some reasons: a new situation, different stresses, lack of self-care, sleep deprivation, social conditioning that people get kidnapped in train stations for whatever reason. My brain had decided that was true. So in this particular situation, my capacity to choose unconditional love was low, maybe even non-existent. I'm pointing this out because as parents, it matters that you can develop the capacity to hold unconditional love no matter what is going on. You might not have developed the capacity yet, but you have the undeveloped capacity that you can choose to develop if you want to, if you put in the work. Now, great example. My daughter's friend, Grace, this is Brea's friend, and Grace has put in the work over the last, I think she was telling us it's been a solid year, going to the gym, dialing in her diet. She looks fantastic. She's really defined and toned. We've had 3 or 4, I think it's 4 now because last night at the gym it happened again, where people will stop her and comment on her tone, on her definition. They'll tell her how impressed they are. They'll ask if she's a bodybuilder. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like this happen before because you know what? No one stops me and tells me this. I know, rude, but in all seriousness, I could get people to stop me if I had put in the work. Now, my body might not look the same as hers. I'm in my 40s. She's much younger, but I could create optimal conditions for my body where maybe people would stop me. Maybe at least I would look in the mirror and say, good job. You have really developed yourself to the capacity that you have inside of you. But I haven't. My body's more reflective of a mom of 6 who likes chocolate. So even though I have a capacity to more fully exercise, define, hit a higher health level, optimally dial it in a little bit more, I haven't done the work. I just haven't done the work. And she has. And I'm not beating myself up over that. I love my body. I'm not as in good of shape as I would like to be. I'm working towards it. And I'm saying this to you because 1, we all have more capacity than we often give ourselves credit for. And unless there's some physical, emotional, mental limitation, most humans have the ability to develop ourselves more than we currently are. So we can develop ourselves more physically, more emotionally, more mentally, and be able to have the ability to feel the way we want in any given situation, which is this beautiful level of emotional resilience and maturity. But if we start to believe that we don't have that capacity to feel any emotion in any moment, regardless of the situation, we're going to find ourselves stuck and in trouble and spinning. One of the things I work on with parents all of the time is asking them, how do you want to feel about this situation? And most parents, before they start working with me, will say, what do you mean? How do I want to feel? I want my kids to change and then I'll feel different. I want them to clean. I want them to pick up. I want them to stop doing this. I want, whatever it is. And I'll say, no, 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 no. The situation doesn't change at all right now. Nothing is allowed to change in the situation. What I want you to focus on is how do you want to feel in this situation? So the only thing that you're allowed to change is the emotion you are going to choose to feel in this moment. So we circle back again and we ask it again. What emotion do you want to feel in this situation? A lot of times people will say to me, well, I guess neutral or indifferent. That's how I want to feel. And then I'll say, awesome. Totally. That's way better than frustration, irritation, annoyance, anger. Way better. So good first step. But of all of the emotions that you could choose from, you're going to go with indifferent. That's the one you want, right? If you imagine emotions being laid out in front of you like a buffet, you're going to stick with neutral. Oh, I can't wait to feel neutral today. Now, neutral does feel so much better than anger or frustration or irritation or upset. And it's definitely one of the emotions that we can aim for when we're in a really severe negative space. But if you could choose any emotion to feel, I've got a hunch you're going to want to feel amazing or excited or peaceful or loving. And by the way, loving is one of the best emotions you can feel. And reminder here, in any relationship, situation, no matter what your kids are doing, the feeling of love is always available to you. It might take some work to develop the muscle of holding unconditional love and feeling unconditional love so strongly in the moment of your child's worst behavior that everyone can almost smell it. It's oozing out of you. It's permeating. I think of the smell of my mom's homemade cinnamon rolls. They were so good. They were so good that if she was making them in the kitchen, we would start congregating in the kitchen. People would start lingering there and wondering, when are they going to be done? And as a parent, that's what we want. We want to be putting off the quote unquote scent or smell of unconditional love so strongly that it's attracting our kids to us, that our kids can't help but be drawn to us, like I was to my mom in the kitchen when she was baking cinnamon rolls. I do feel, even though it's, not a scent per se, it is being put out into the world. There is this message, they call it mirror neurons in science, where we're literally putting out a signal saying, hey, this is what I'm feeling, whether it's positive or negative. And so almost like another sense of our five senses, is this intuitive or emotional scent that we're putting out, so to speak, that our kids can feel, and we want them to come in. And here's the crazy reality. Many of us decide that we don't want to feel unconditional love in the moment. We don't want to feel love towards this person on purpose. They don't deserve our love. I'm mad at them. I'm frustrated they aren't going to bed. Now, I want you to take a minute. Choosing to not feel love towards a person doesn't make any sense. Why would we choose not to love? Why would we choose not to feel love towards someone? Love feels amazing. Don't we want to feel amazing? Why are we denying ourselves of that feeling? Why would we not want to put out that scent of, hey, I love you, no matter what? Just sending it out like the best perfume on the planet that no one can get enough of. Now, the reasons we come up with are kind of lame. I hear parents say, most of these are parents that haven't been working with me, because once they start getting the hang of Connect Method parenting, this shifts pretty quickly. At least the awareness of it shifts pretty quickly. And then we have to get it to translate into a new neural pathway so it can show up in the real moments. But this is what I hear parents say when they are first coming to me and they're not familiar with Connect Method parenting or vaguely familiar with it. They'll say, well, Andy, it's hard to have loving thoughts when my child is being so difficult or having a bad attitude. It's hard to feel love in the moment when they're yelling or having a big fit, or they've come out of their room for the 10th time after I've put them to bed. I've even heard my brain tell me crazy thoughts like this, and maybe yours has done the same. This child's being so mean right now. I don't have any unconditional love for him. If I have unconditional love for him, he's going to not change. He's going to keep walking all over me. Talk about crazy brain talk right there. It seems logical and maybe even just, but here's the truth. You not feeling loving toward your child or any other human is only hurting you, not the other human, not hurting your child in the way you think it is. That lack of love is just you not feeling love. Many of us think that when we love someone and feel love towards someone, it's somehow benefiting them. And in a way it is, but not in the way you think. Or on the other hand, that when we don't love someone, this problematic person, it somehow keeps things fair, and that other person doesn't get the benefit of us feeling unconditional love. Let me break this down because it's true and not true. Let's start by talking about how it does benefit them, but not in the enabling, keep doing bad behavior kind of way. but rather in the set them up for success and help them learn how to make a better choice in the future kind of way. I want to start by talking about how it is true that when you are feeling unconditional love in that moment, and again, I'm talking about the kind of unconditional love that's easy to spot, not buried under layers of frustration. So when you feel the emotion of unconditional love towards someone else, they do get the benefit of being in the midst of your amazing mirror neurons, sending out positive love emotions towards them, which honestly can be such a great gift to their nervous system and help them calm down and get their nervous system back into parasympathetic, get them out of their negative emotional behavioral loop. But what it's not some reward or something that they don't deserve if we decide to feel unconditional love for them, even if they're being unkind. And it's not like we show up emotionally, unconditionally loving towards them, and then it encourages them to keep doing all their bad behavior. That's what we often think is they don't deserve my unconditional love, or it's going to keep telling them to do bad things. No, us unconditionally loving someone who's hard to love in the moment might allow their nervous system for the first time, perhaps, to co-regulate with us in a way that could help them feel safe and get out of their off-track behavior cycle. Okay, I'm going to say that again. It is not a reward that reinforces their bad behavior. So having unconditional love for them, and I'm not talking the deep down buried, yeah, I really do love them, even though right now I'm so angry at them kind of love. I'm talking about the unconditional love right now, and that's what I feel primarily towards them, and I have so much compassion and empathy towards them. And I might need to have a firm limit if it's a child, but I feel the love is motivating them. When our actions are motivated by love, it's not rewarding or reinforcing their bad behavior. Showing up loving is a way of being that we are choosing to have because it feels amazing, and it gives the other person who, if we truly care about them and we want what's best for them, then why would we not want to give them this gift? It gives them the chance to be successful and affect change because it allows their nervous system to come in contact with another human who is holding space for love instead of frustration, who is creating more love in the world instead of frustration or anger. We're not matching their emotional signature. We're creating a new one and inviting them to come and resonate with us. As Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Seems obvious after reading it, but it's not. And it's so much harder than you think. It's really being the love, even if the other person is being unloving. It's being patient when the other person is being impatient. I would guess that most of you, if not all of you listening to this podcast, have been unintentionally taught the concepts of behavioralism, which is the idea that we teach our kids how to be good kids through external stimuli, consequences, rewards, ultimatums, timeouts. So we think a reward, which could be us unconditionally loving them, or a consequence, which is us getting angry at them, is going to be the ticket to fix things. Now, this line of thinking leads us to believe that we cannot love someone who doesn't quote unquote deserve it. Because if we have unconditional love for a kid who's being bad, so to speak, I don't believe in bad or good behavior, but that's what we often misbehaving, having off-track behavior, then we'll be rewarding them for their quote unquote bad behavior and that they'll never learn the lesson. But the opposite is true. If we want our kids to learn their quote unquote lessons, the only way to do that is to help them learn that lesson from the inside out, because real change comes from the inside out. It comes from them finding their remorse, from them deciding they want to do something different, and then making the changes from there. And the best way to help their heart soften is to create an environment where their nervous system feels safe, which is not an environment where we're threatening them with consequences, timeout, lectures, etc. But we get so locked into this idea that I can't love him, or I can't be in this loving place with him, and I can't feel the emotion of love right now because of what they did or what they didn't do. And if I felt this obvious, oozing, unconditional love and acceptance for him right now, then he'll never understand that what he did was not okay. I really hope you're seeing how that is so far from what will really create intrinsic change. The thing that is going to get your kids to want to listen, to want to change, is the result of them having a desire to change, having them feel safe, having them feel remorse, having them feel sorrow for what they did, having them feel regret. That is an emotion they have to come up with, not an emotion we can push from the outside in. When we withhold our love, we suffer, and so do they. This is conditional love, not unconditional love when we withhold our love. What they need is unconditional love and acceptance. And we've all had the experience where the love is withdrawn and it doesn't help us get unstuck. It feels terrible. So here's the truth. You get to love whenever you want. And the more love you send out to your child, the more possibilities you create for them to choose a different choice. So here's the truth. You get to feel love whenever you want. And feeling love does nothing but make the world a better place. Nothing that anyone does or doesn't do can ever deny you that feeling of love. And I think that's the best news ever. I think it's amazing that we have the potential, the capacity to choose how we feel about other people regardless of how they treat us. So if we want to love someone else, we can love someone else, even if they don't, quote unquote, deserve it. And that doesn't mean we get taken advantage of. I'm going to dive into that later. But if that's what you're wondering, it actually makes you more capable of setting limits, boundaries, keeping yourself safe than if you're getting all frustrated with them. I was coaching a mom recently who said to me, I am devastated because my son lied to me. And I said, okay, tell me more. Why is it so devastating? And she said, well, because I want to just love him and trust him. And I'm so upset by how this whole situation is going down. And I'm finding myself constantly annoyed and irritated with him. And the relationship, it's not good right now. And I hate that. And I'm just frustrated and I'm sad and I feel terrible. And I said, you know what? There's nothing your son can do to make you stay frustrated and irritated or annoyed with him. You could say to him, I love you, son, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can feel however you want to feel about him, no matter what he's done. He can't stop you just because he lied to you. He can't stop you from feeling love towards him. He can't stop you from oozing love out towards him. You get to feel that no matter what. Now, the mom wanted to feel love. She was really clear on that. I'm not suggesting that her son wanted to feel her love in that situation, but the mom was feeling like she couldn't feel love towards him because of what he had done. And I want to remind you, you get to feel love towards whoever in your life, regardless of what they've done. And this had a huge impact on her. She said to me that that was one of the most mind-blowing things she'd ever heard. The fact that she could continue to feel love towards him regardless felt amazing to her. The possibility of doing that became available to her. It was the truth. I just gave her permission to do what she already wanted to do, but she didn't need my permission because it was already an option for her. She just didn't know it was an option. So she always had permission to tap into that ability to feel love towards her son no matter what. She just didn't know it was an option until I pointed it out. But once I showed her, she saw it and she was able to choose it. I want to use another example of a mom I was recently coaching who came to me because she was struggling with her mom and she had beautiful awareness around it, but was stuck to know how to translate what we've been talking about with Connect Method Parenting into a real life situation. So I'm going to use mother as we go through this situation, but I want you to pick out someone who you're struggling with. Chances are there's somebody, your mom, maybe your husband, your child, your friend, your neighbor. Pick the person that you're having an issue with that seems to trigger you and insert them. So you think of a person you're struggling with, and when I say mother, you insert your person. Got it? So I was talking with this mom as we were laying out all the details of why she was struggling with her, which, by the way, if you heard the details, you would say, oh, that's very legitimate that you would be frustrated with your mother. But this wise mom who I was working with, she wanted to feel different. She wanted to feel better. She could tell she wasn't as empowered, showing up the way she wanted to around her mom. She knew she could change it. She just didn't know exactly how. So we laid out all the facts. And then I asked her, how do you want to feel towards your mother? Then I said it more bluntly. Do you want to love your mother? And she said, what? Can you say that again? So I asked her again, do you want to love your mother? She took a big, deep breath and she said, yeah, I do. I just don't know how. And then she said some more things about how she knew her mom was doing her best, but it was still really challenging because she'd caused her so many problems and her mom wasn't willing to do any of the work. And she was upset about that. And she just didn't like how she felt when she was around her mom. And I said, I got it. Part of you wants to love her and forgive her. And part of you doesn't. Part of you is mad and wants to protect yourself and thinks that holding on to the frustration and irritation is protecting you. Makes sense. And then I asked her, why don't you want to feel love when you think of her? Why don't you want to feel that emotion? And there were lots of reasons why she, quote unquote, couldn't feel love towards her mom, and very good reasons. So we normalized and we honored that part of her where all those reasons lived and where she was staying stuck, and the part of her that also wanted to stop feeling those emotions and didn't want to feel trapped and helpless around her mom. So we looked at both parts of her. She knew her mom wasn't going to do any of the work, and she was tired of giving all of her emotional power away to her mother and experiencing negative emotions anytime she was around her mom. So this amazing client was aware that she wasn't taking full responsibility for her emotions in that moment, which is totally fine. This is part of the journey. And so we dug into it more, and she could see that she was blaming her mom for how she was feeling, which she saw and hated. But also part of her said, fair, she needs to hold on to it. And I said, you can feel however you want towards her. It's up to you. Love is an option. Forgiveness is an option. She told me that she really wanted to love and forgive her mom and wanted to take her power back, wanted to be feeling the way she wanted to feel when she was around her mom. She didn't want to feel awful and powerless. So I gave her some stuff to work on. One of the assignments I asked her to do was what I call a HIT exercise. And it's a tool that we use to mine our mind for what we already know to be true and create so much evidence that our brains can't help but form new neural pathways, which in this case would be a pathway that would allow her to feel both safe around her mom and love and forgiveness and 100% ownership emotionally. It was awesome to see her start to connect the dots and to go from where she was feeling stuck to feeling empowered and loving. And this is the work of feeling unconditional love for people. We actually are more capable of taking care of ourselves the more love we feel for someone else. So to recap, you are the one who gets to feel love when you choose to love someone. And people will say, I don't want to love her. She doesn't deserve my love. Well, the good news is she's not feeling it. You are. Just because you're feeling unconditional love for her doesn't mean that unconditional love jumps out of your body into her body. You're the only one that is really having that experience. Just like you're the only one feeling the hate. She doesn't feel your hate. She feels her emotions, and you get to feel your emotions. So a lot of people will hate on other people and feel like they're punishing them and feel like they're treating them terribly just by hating them and seething and feeling resentment towards them. No, that person, if you act hateful, they're going to experience that. And they will experience the mirror neurons that I was talking about, that transmission that you're sending out into the world. But they're still having their own emotional experience as a result of that. They're still choosing how they're going to receive what you're sending out into the world. The emotion you are having is your emotion. So when you feel hate, you get to enjoy that all by yourself. When you feel frustrated, you get to sit in that emotion, not the other person. That's all you. You can blame them for the feeling, but you're the one feeling it. And not only that, it's like you're saying they're so powerful that they can create that emotion inside of you. It's their fault that you're feeling this way, but it's not. It's within our emotional capacity to take responsibility for how we feel. So of all the feelings available to you, how do you want to feel? Now, if love is always an option, do you want to feel love most of the time? I want you guys to really, really think about this. Wouldn't it be ridiculously amazing if you loved all of the people that you met every day? Think about the person you love the most, the one you are so in love with. You think, oh, I really, really love them. So grateful for them. If you felt that way towards other people you just randomly met on the street, how amazing would your life be? I'm not talking romantic love. I'm talking just love as the human that they are, going through this world, doing their best. If you were able to think something like, oh, hey, it's you, stranger. There you are. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love everyone here. I remember March 2023. It was right before my son left for a couple of years to Chile, and all my kids were there and extended family. Some of the extended family was there, and I was looking around and was literally in love with every person in that room. It was amazing. Everywhere I looked, there was someone I was in love with. My husband, my kids, my parents. One of my sisters and her family were there. It was amazing. I've tried to do this more and more, not just when it's a special occasion. I'll be walking around and I'll not know anyone and start looking around and try to feel love towards people I don't even know. Last weekend, we were out kids playing soccer. Felt kind of like we were at Disneyland. Cute little benches on the street that people were eating and chatting. Restaurants open to the street, windows, doors open, people eating, so much energy, people shopping. There were all kinds of stores open. And being able to take a few minutes to look around and to notice people. And I didn't do it for very long, and I definitely need to do it again and spend more time and intentionality doing it. But looking around and just mapping people and sending a little bit of love to them, it feels so good every time. I did it on a trip. It was probably 15 years ago. I was flying by myself on a flight from Phoenix to London. My husband had gone out for a business trip the week before, and I was catching up with him a week later. We're going to do a little bit of sightseeing. And I had this intention of connecting with people for the whole trip. That was my intention. I didn't care what we saw. I didn't care what we did. I just wanted to connect with people. And from the minute I got to the airport, I had this huge heart-opening experience where I talked to this beautiful woman about her journey to move from the Middle East to Arizona and where her kids were in school. I still remember vividly the conversation we had. And then I got onto the airplane, kind of hoping I would sit next to her, but of course we didn't. I didn't see her again. And I was sitting on the airplane. It was a big, big airplane where they have the 4 seats in the middle. And I was on the end, and these 2 men were sitting next to me, speaking clearly another language. And a little bit into the flight, we started talking. They were from Sweden, and we just had such a cool experience comparing our lives and the countries we lived in. And that continued the entire time. I really, throughout that whole trip, was intentionally trying my hardest to just love and accept people and see them for who they were. And I'm not perfect at it at all, but that was my intention. And what I will say is every time I remember to do this unconditional love practice, random love, I should come up with a name for it. That would be clever, right? I don't have a good name for it, but I'm sending out love. Do you remember the Care Bears where they would do the Care Bear stare? Are you old enough for that, y'all? It's kind of reminds me of that, where you're sending out random, in the Care Bear thing, they're sending out energy from their little tummies or whatever. So it feels like that. I'm sending out this channel of unconditional love towards somebody, and it feels amazing. It feels amazing. So feeling love towards people feels amazing. So why not do more of it? See what it's like to look at a stranger and say in your head, I love you. I'm talking about loving people because it feels good and it sends more love out into the world. Now, think about someone in your life that you find difficult to love. Maybe you blame them for why you can't love them. But what if we changed that story and you questioned it and you said, nope, I'm not going to blame them. I'm going to own how I feel. I'm going to love them because it feels so much better than frustration. And we're just going to go with that. I blamed someone for how I felt about them for years. And I had a really challenging experience letting that go because I didn't understand this principle we're talking about today. I was more focused on all of the reasons why I shouldn't love her, and that kept me suffering for years. I thought if I loved her, I was somehow letting her get away with treating me so terribly, but that's not how it worked. It just made my life miserable. It took me years to figure out this whole unconditional love for your own sake kind of thing, and love because it feels so good, and love because you're sending more love out into the world. But once I got it, I started doing the work to feel safe to love her, which I'm going to be honest, took some convincing my nervous system to get on board with that. But I began to realize that she had no power over me. I started to get this whole idea that if I chose to love her, that it didn't give her power over me. I was so afraid of that. If I chose to love her, she would dominate me. She would take advantage of me. It would prove that she was right. That was a big one too. Instead, that decision to love her regardless of what she had done or said gave me power to take even better care of me, set cleaner boundaries, feel more capable around her, not less. So choosing not to feel love towards someone never feels good. And you are the one, the only one, suffering the emotional effect of that. So if I look at someone and I hate them, or I look at my child and I'm frustrated with them because they didn't clean their room, or I'm annoyed that my child didn't put their dish in the sink, or I'm irritated that my toddler has run out of this room for the 12th time tonight after being put in bed, I'm the one that experiences that. If I look at someone and I love them, I'm the one that experiences that. I was explaining this to my girls the other day. I was telling them, if you love everyone, it benefits you because then you always get to be around people you love. And they said to me, but Mom, what about those people that don't like you? And I said, that's okay because you can't control that. but you could love them anyway. You can't control if people like you or not, because everybody gets to choose how they want to feel. And the truth is, girls, you could do everything right and they could still not like you. But what you do have control over is how you decide to feel about everybody else. So all you parents listening to this, I want you to think about this. When someone does something you don't like, which will probably be one of your kids today, will do something you don't like, how are you going to choose to feel about them? That is what you have control over. Not how they choose to feel about you or whether they like what you do or not, but how you feel about them. So let's bring this home literally to your spouse, to your kids, and ask yourself, do you feel love for them on purpose all of the time, regardless of what they do? Now, I know that's a huge call, all of the time. We're setting our sights high because then we can get closer to there. This is unconditional love, you all, and it feels amazing. You love them no matter what they do. You get to feel amazing. I've had so many parents, when they first come to me, they're upset and frustrated. They want something different, but they're not sure how to do it. And they've been conditioned through the water we all swim in with parenting. Behavioralism is everywhere, thinking that I need to be upset because my child made this choice. And these parents will come, and I get it because this was me, not feeling like they have a choice about how they feel about their child. And they feel like they have to feel this negative emotion to teach their child a lesson. Now, those of you who know me know that I'm always recommending that if at all possible, you don't set a limit or even have a conversation with your child until you're feeling a positive emotion for them, towards them, about what they did. I want you to feel love towards them because the emotions we are feeling flavor the actions we take. So if I'm frustrated and I try to set a connective limit, forget about it. It's going to be a corrective limit. It's going to come in a punitive tone because it's drenched in the lack of love and compassion I have for them in that moment. If you are actively feeling love, not that deep down, I really do love them, but right now I have to be angry at them kind of love, like the active, surface, palpable, unconditional love that is impacting everything you say and everything you do, and you want to give them a limit, or you feel like you need to take a privilege away because it will serve your child, do it. Because that is going to be fueled by love, unconditional love and acceptance, unconditional positive regard. But what I see way too often is people giving their kids a consequence or setting a limit when they're frustrated. And so the consequence is drenched in judgment, drowning in disappointment, and overwhelmingly soaked in upset. And the parent is hoping that once the child behaves or does the chore or listens, that they're going to feel better, or that the child will feel better. And I mean, you might get that little hit of dopamine when you get them to do whatever it is you want in the moment. But that consequence that is drenched in judgment, disappointment, and upset isn't going to get your child to feel better about wanting to permanently change their behavior down the road. It's not going to get them to feel better about their relationship with you. It's not going to help them feel more trust and safety. No, you won't feel better once you've given your child a punitive consequence, because the way you feel better is based on what you're thinking. And I doubt the emotion you're going to find at the end of a corrective consequence is going to be genuine, unconditional love. It might be satisfaction because you feel justified and satisfied from that correction, behavioralistic mindset, but it's probably not unconditional love or compassion for your child. Remember your happiness. The feeling of love you have for other people is found within you because you decide to create it, not because of how your child acts or doesn't act. And wherever you go, that emotion you're creating for yourself is going to go with you. And now you may be like, what is Andy even talking about? Your ability to be happy or feel love towards another person is never dependent on another person. That's what I'm talking about. So you aren't going to feel love and happiness by giving your child a punitive consequence. And you can blame them for your unhappiness because they aren't listening, because they aren't going to bed, but that doesn't make it true because they're not responsible for how you are feeling. They're not responsible for your unhappiness or your happiness. What I'm suggesting is that you take responsibility for your emotions. Take responsibility for how you feel and then make the decision from there. Don't ever get fooled into thinking you can permanently fix your kids' behavior externally and that once you say something or give them a consequence, things will get better and you'll feel better. I've done that so many times. It doesn't work. If you get caught in that trap, what you'll find yourself doing is trying to keep changing external situations to change how you feel. If you want to feel better at how you deal with your child's behavior, it starts inside. It starts by feeling unconditional love for them regardless. So recently in office hours, sleep's been coming up, and I get it. Sleep deprivation, kids not going to bed. It is huge. It's a big problem. And these moms are rock stars. They have applied Connect Method parenting principles in other areas of their life, but sleep training has been a challenge. So first of all, I just have to say, you moms in League are killing it. And I love that because they're so dedicated to mastering a connection-based framework in their life that anytime they see themselves get stuck, they show up to office hours and we work through it. So that's what we've been doing. And yesterday, two of the moms who'd been asking about sleep training and attachment-based sleep training, as I called it, were both on office hours yesterday, and both came on and shared these huge wins for how things had shifted for them. Why? Because they had figured out how to change how they felt about the sleep issues. We had talked about it on the calls. They had gone and done the work in real life, which allowed their conscious brain to stay in control. They were both able to access new thoughts, access the new plan for dealing with the sleep issues, and both had massive shifts where their sleeping issues got better, naps were taken, bedtimes went smoother. It was awesome. I loved hearing their wins. And it just goes to show that how we are feeling matters, and our ability to drop the resistance and have unconditional love in the moment makes a huge difference. Because in both of these situations, once they changed how they felt about the sleep issue, then they were able to implement a new plan around what was going on with sleep, and everything shifted. So your thoughts, your filters, your beliefs, they really do create your reality. Their mirror neurons send out messages to those around us. Their mirror neurons have the opportunity to pick up on those messages, and the energy and the direction and the mood or the tone, whatever you want to call it, shifts, and things begin to shift. So just again, back to what Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. It starts with us creating a new tone. And regardless of if the people in our life pick up that tone, that energy, that direction, that mood or not, doesn't even matter, because we get to feel it regardless. But what I have found is that a lot of the time, don't want to say anything that will get me in trouble on the podcast, but it will often impact the entire rest of our life. So back to the situation real quick of loving someone you struggle with. Could be your mother-in-law, mother, sister-in-law, husband, kid. Think of the person you picked earlier. We're going to go through this again really quickly to help it stick. So your brain will probably say that you are choosing not to love this person because of everything they've done or because of how hard the situation is. And I'll say, yep, but love is a choice. Why wouldn't you choose to love this person or this situation? And I want to add to that, you can love this person and still decide you don't want to invite them over to your house every day, or maybe even ever be around them. That is an option, and you can allow yourself to have that option. And you can love a situation, but that doesn't mean you go passive and just give up trying to make it better, or just let it continue to go on the way it has. But why not love, accept, open yourself up to the person or the situation? Now, I'm just going to use person for the rest of these examples, but no, you could substitute a situation as well. So, can you give me a reason why you don't want to feel love towards someone? Because love feels amazing, and you can love someone deeply and not want to ever see them. So when people say to me, well, I just don't love this person, or I'm just annoyed with my child, or I'm just so frustrated this is happening. And I'll say, you act like that's something that just is happening to you. Now, what you're really saying is, I'm not putting in the effort, or I don't want to put in the effort, or I'm not willing to put in the effort to love this person. I liked it when it was easy and didn't take effort. I liked it when I could just glide along and have it easy. Now it's going to require me to make an intentional effort to love this person. Now you can tell the truth and say, I don't want to make that much effort to love that person because I don't want to feel love towards them like that. I would rather feel negative emotions. I'd rather feel judgmental or awful. So we can say that, and that's completely within our power. It's an option. Or you can just decide, I'm going to feel amazing. I'm going to feel love. I'm going to feel unconditional love towards this person because I want to, not because they deserve it, but because I want to. And any resistance you have to feeling unconditional love for the person is probably because you have the assumption, which is false, the false assumption that they're going to somehow get away with bad behavior if you feel positive towards them. And we don't want them to benefit. We want them to pay. But it feels better to love someone than it does to hate someone or not like someone. It feels better to be happy with someone than to be disgusted by them. And it's a choice. So even though it's so easy to act like it's some knee-jerk reaction that happens that we don't have any control over, and it really might feel automatic, and it might basically automatic right now, there is still the capacity within us to learn how to have more unconditional love towards them. We can make a choice. We can develop the capacity. It might take some work, but it's possible. When you love someone, it doesn't mean anything other than you get to feel love towards them. And what's interesting is, as humans, what I've noticed 100% of the time when I've talked to people, when I've coached them, and I ask them this question, do you love this person? Like, really, do you love them? They can find so many reasons why this person is worthy of their love. Even the hardest people, they're able to find love within themselves for this person. And the same is going to be true for you. You can find reasons to feel love for people who are not easy to feel love for. Maybe because they're making really poor choices that don't make it easy for you to elicit love inside of you for them. Maybe they're breaking curfew, talking back, throwing 2-hour fits. Our kids can challenge our ability to feel love. They can give us an opportunity to increase our capacity for unconditional love. But go back to, do I feel love for this person? Do I want to love them? Now, one of the things I hear sometimes is that people don't want to feel love for their child or mother-in-law, partner in the moment because they're afraid that if they feel love towards them, they're going to feel hurt, taken advantage of, or disrespected. Quick reminder, when we choose to feel love instead of disrespected or hurt or taken advantage of, our prefrontal cortex stays online because our nervous system doesn't get activated. So we're more capable of taking care of ourselves, not letting ourselves be taken advantage of, standing up for ourselves, not allowing ourselves to be walked all over. So there is just that. But I also want to say that not loving will not save you from being hurt. You can't pre-hurt yourself, so you won't be hurt later. And let's say you choose to love your child even though they lie to you or say something unkind to you. Being in a loving state makes you more capable, not less capable, to handle their off-track behavior in a way you respect and in a way that they might actually respond to because their heart is softened, because they're not triggered by you. They don't have to get defended by you because your nervous system isn't activated. You're setting them up to have the best possible chance to soften their heart towards you versus harden their heart towards you. Reminder though, you can't control how anyone else feels. So pay attention to how you want to feel. When you aren't feeling loving, own it. Don't blame it on someone else or something else outside of you. Not feeling loving in that moment is a choice that you get to make. It's probably subconscious in the moment. If you're not liking it, if you're showing up in a non-loving way, it's probably a subconscious choice, but it is a choice that you can learn to make intentionally down the road. So don't beat yourself up if you don't feel love. Instead, lean into loving yourself and accepting that you're doing the best you can. And then ask yourself, why is it hard for me to love this person? Why don't I want to feel love towards them when they do this or that? Or just in general, why am I annoyed with them? And when you're making it about the other person, remind yourself that love is just an emotion that you get to feel, and you get to feel it privately. You don't have to tell anybody about how you feel them. You certainly don't have to call them up. If it's your mother-in-law, let's say, and say, hey, mother-in-law, I love you. Although that would be awesome. And I totally recommend it if you can. That would be so fun. I totally recommend saying it to your kids though, saying out of the blue, hey, I love you. I love your face. I love what you do. I love how you see life. It's so fun to do that, but you don't have to. Feeling love towards another person is an emotion that you get to feel privately. You get to choose to feel love towards someone regardless. It doesn't have to immediately translate into you acting or doing something differently. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but you get to feel that emotion inside of you and you get to own it. That is what unconditional love is about. It's loving without conditions. Thank you, Michelle, for clarifying that all those years ago. It's been so powerful and it feels amazing. It's the ultimate gift you give yourself. And yes, when you're feeling loving, you probably will act kinder to yourself and to other people, but that's just an awesome side effect. It's not the reason to do it. Do it because it's the closest emotion you have to the truest part of who you really are. It's the emotion that gives you freedom and grace. And so think about someone who is challenging for you to love. Write down all the reasons you find them hard to love. All of those thoughts, remember? Write down all the conditions that you're putting on loving them. All the reasons they don't deserve your love. All the reasons you're denying yourself of that feeling, and then ask yourself what it would feel like to love them no matter what all the time. And once you get good at that, do it with somebody else. And then I have an ultimate challenge for you. I want you to try and do it for yourself, because why not? Think of your life and what it would be like if you unconditionally loved yourself. I heard once that how we treat ourselves in private is how we will treat others in public. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I remember when I heard that, having that be a clarion call for me to stop beating myself up, to have unconditional love towards myself, because I wanted to treat my children better. It's what finally kicked me in the rear and got me willing to entertain the idea that it was okay and important to figure out how to love myself unconditionally. And I'm still working on it, and I probably always will be, but I'm so much better at it than I used to be. And as a result, I'm so much better at loving others. All right, you all, you got your marching orders. This is how we increase our capacity for unconditional love. Oh, and one more thing. If you've been listening to the podcast and loving it and haven't left a review yet, you can pop over to Apple Podcasts in the app on the phone. I know if you scroll to the bottom, it has a little thing that says write a review. You could write a review, subscribe if you haven't already to the podcast. That would be fantastic. All right, everybody, have an awesome rest of your day. I love you. I'm so thankful that you're here, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye, guys. Thanks so much for listening, you all. If you are ready to learn more about Connect Method Parenting, if you've been listening to the podcast and you think, ooh, I'd love to be able to implement this in my life and with my parenting more, then check out Pivot. It's my 8-week program where we deep dive into learning and implementing Connect Method Parenting so that you can take this information and transform your parenting journey. Head over to connectmethodparenting.com to find out when the next group starts.